What is going on, everyone? Thanks for tuning in. It is Kurt Yazija on the show today. And on today's episode, I wanted to talk about sales. Now, I'm actually thinking about doing a 3-part series on specific types of sales. My experience goes back about 8 years when it comes to sales, and I have consistently been in the top of my class when it comes to actually producing and getting results. And so on this episode, I want to share a few bullets, a few things that I think are really going to help in terms of sales, and let's get right in. So sales, all right. I think probably one of the best people to follow for sales is Grant Cardone. If you've never checked his stuff out, he's super motivated, he's super obsessed, he loves sales. And again, this is a free flow, so I'm really gonna kind of bounce around on different ideas, but I'm gonna give you kind of a few nuggets of things that I think are the most valuable, and then we'll go from there. When you think about sales, it's like you really need people that are gonna be motivated, money motivated, or problem solving motivated. You've got to have people who are willing to move mountains for other people because sales is really challenging. You've got to get in touch with people. You've got to really figure out how to get through their gatekeepers. They're people that are blocking all these people that are trying to reach them for their money. And you have to have a good reason and a good internal drive to actually reach them, to help them. A lot of people don't understand that in sales, it has to come down to really believing in your product. You've got to believe that what you're offering them, which by and large, by the way, is you. So if you believe in yourself, you are pretty much guaranteed to have a good product. Now, if you're working for a company and their product sucks, meaning you wouldn't buy it yourself, then you probably should change jobs or find another company. There are thousands of companies that would hire a good salesperson on the spot, even in the worst economy. Sales is the lifeblood of businesses. So you have no excuse to stay at a company and suffer through the pain of selling people slime. It just doesn't make any sense given how many valuable products are out there and how many solutions there are. But like I've said before, if you're really going to be successful, you've got to have that internal inner dial all set the way you want it to go. So what makes a person good in sales? Well, it comes down to motivation, in my opinion. When I worked at Zillow, I was in phone sales for the first 2.5 years. And during that period of time, I saw a lot of people come and go. The people that would come and go were the people that would kind of ride the wave, have success, but wouldn't step on the gas and keep it down. They wouldn't keep pushing. They didn't have that motivation to solve a lot of people's problems, or they just weren't driven by money. They wanted to hit a quota. It was a job to them, but it wasn't really about getting to that next level. What I find is that actually in sales, the people that were successful were the ones who were passionate about the product. They were passionate about the customers. They were really excited about helping who they were talking to. And I see that across the board. I just did a podcast with my buddy Lucas Pinto, and on the podcast, we talked about what makes a good salesperson. We talked about what it is, and we mentioned things like energy, things like motivation, things like confidence, of course, comes into the picture as well. But confidence is very kind of misunderstood. I talked about this in the last podcast a few videos back, where we went into the idea of self-esteem and what confidence was. Confidence is just certainty. It's just certainty in your skill set, in your presentation, in your ability to get past gatekeepers, but it's not really anything unusual. You just develop it. Most people who start sales are not going to have confidence, or they're going to be delusional, because how can you have confidence when you've never sold your product before? How can you have confidence when the customer you're working with has never been helped by you before? You can't. You kind of have to fake it till you make it. But that's the beauty of sales. Activity is another big piece of it that really helps. If you have a lot of activity, activity will crush competition when it comes to sales. You take a lot of action, you make a lot of calls, you make a lot of, you journal, you write on your presentation, you modify, you tweak it. The first 6 months I was in sales, I was on it, man. I was hitting the phones as hard as I could. I was in the top 5% in my team, in my company, in terms of sales, in terms of phone time. I made more dials than most people did. And the people that made more dials than me typically were right there with me when it came to actually making the sale. Now, there is a point where you have like diminishing returns where you're kind of just pushing yourself and you're grinding yourself to a halt. But by and large, most people are not going to be on that spectrum. They're going to be way over here, too underactive, not really pushing the limits, pushing the line when it comes to being as active as they can. There's always leads to call. There is always people to follow up with. There is always work to be done in sales. It is endless. So don't let activity or overactivity be an excuse. You really want to have a high level of activity. Aim to have your activity be in the top 5-10% of your peer group. And not only are you going to do better by just sheer statistical probability, but you're going to get better. It's proven. The more you practice, even if you're practicing kind of badly, the more you can just get that feedback. And if you've got a halfway intelligent way to sort of become aware of the feedback you're getting, the better you're gonna get. So I wanted to make a short bit. I didn't want to go too long, but I'm probably gonna do a 3-part, maybe a 5-part series specifically on phone sales, because that's a lot of what I did. And then I can pivot into actual in-market, field, outside sales, as well as into sales management, because I did that as well. But for the typical general things, I think a lot of it comes down to the product, the belief, the mindsets, and then activity. And if you can do that, then as long as you're being aware, like I've said before, journal about what you're doing, keep track of what works well, what doesn't work, how can you change it, swallow your pride, things like that, to ask for help from people who are better than you in sales, then you are gonna do phenomenal. So until next time, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate your time. And if you like this, share it, hit the like button, shoot some comments out, subscribe if you haven't, and also send me suggestions if there's topics around business, entrepreneurship, or psychology that really are you're itching to get more information on. Until next time, keep crushing.